Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for taking time and doing this too. It means a
Of
lot.
course.
Yeah,
Of
thank
course.
you.
Thanks for having us.
I know you guys
Yeah.
recently released your album too, like a few days ago, and I took some time out and I listened to it and I loved it. I think it's so cool.
Thank you.
How has the release been for you guys?
Uh, it's been good. I think any artist that released an album in the past, year has felt the effects, obviously, of the pandemic and not being able to like immediately tour your album and kind of just obviously the effects of what's going on in the world. And so for us, it's exciting that we're releasing our album as it seems to be loosening up, as the pandemic seems to be really kind of getting under control, and we have like dates on the horizon, and we know like, all right, we'll be able to play these songs live. But I think for us, we just really wanted to take time and like celebrate the fact that we released an album. Like I texted Connor because we're terrible about planning stuff, and I texted him like I want to say like 3 days before the album come out. And I was like, dude, we have to like do something for the album, like celebrate with our friends, like just get some people together, because otherwise like we're gonna regret it. Like next year when everything's regular, we're gonna be like, man, I wish we took some time and just celebrated the fact that we released an album and it's out in the world. So, but all in all, at least for me, it's been really nice. I'm so glad that people have the songs in their lives now and have been able to listen to them.
Agreed.
I second that.
Yeah, we went out and celebrated at a bar, and so if there's one thing I've noticed during the pandemic is that using Uber and Lyft is awful right now. I don't know why, but like I was telling Maxwell, I didn't get home until like 2 a.m. because like I stayed there till the bar closed, but that's besides the point. But I like go to get a Uber and like it took like almost an hour for it to show up, which is crazy. I was like, what's going on? I was like, I guess it's just because like either I guess people like aren't don't want to drive right now. I don't blame them. Like I'm vaccinated, so like I'm not like super stressed about it or as much as I was, getting in an Uber. But like if I was a driver, and especially if I wasn't vaccinated, I definitely would not want to be like driving around, strangers during all this. But
I think the context too is that like in LA before the pandemic, because we're just such a dense city, like it never took more than 2 minutes to get an Uber. Like
yeah,
ever. Like there was always someone right around the corner to pick you up. And now it's just
yeah,
like it's switched. And so now
That's
it's
the
like
same
super
with
long.
Dallas. Yeah, that's
yeah,
the same way here. Yeah.
Yeah.
crazy.
Has COVID affected like, oh, I'm so sorry. Did I cut you off?
No. I just thought it was so funny that like you're like, how's the album going? Connor's like, yeah, Ubers are taking a really long time. like
I
just
mean,
so
Listen,
it
if
funny.
like
there's one thing I've
segues.
learned,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that segues exactly into like what I was gonna say. Like, has COVID affected like your process in the album or like in any way, shape, or form the album itself?
yeah,
And Uber
just
Yeah.
fits that. Uber
getting
fits
to and
that.
from getting
Yeah.
to and from the studio.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just from the simple fact that, like not being able to tour a record is not necessarily the most normal thing. Like usually when you release a record, you have dates lined up right away and you're like going to like promote the record, and you're hitting radio stations and all sorts of stuff. So not being able to do that has definitely been different. So much of like creating the actual record, I think the only thing that was maybe impacted was like our awareness that like, you have to be careful and like, not see too many people because we're going to see each other in the studio and like, and just kind of keep our, I guess our COVID bubble small. But I mean, I mean, Connor, you can talk about it too, but the creation of the record, I guess in a lot of ways was the same as it's been for us creating all of our songs. Like we get demos together and then we take them to our boy Nicky Adamson, who produced the record, and he helps us finish them and clean everything up. So but it definitely like saved our mental a little bit, I would say, because we finished the record during, I want to say like June and July, during some pretty hectic, stressful times. So like being able to like go to the studio and like spend our days and like create music or finish music was definitely helpful, because otherwise we would just been sitting in our apartments going stir crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't know if other than that, I
Yeah.
can't tell if like there's other major impacts. I mean, maybe in the sense of like, maybe we would have done more things around the release, like in person. I don't know, maybe. We also have never released a record as a band, so we have nothing to contextualize it against, you know?
Yeah, and in all honesty, I don't think we were planning on like, maybe we would have put a record out at this time, maybe, but like we weren't really planning for it to be now. We were planning to kind of continue the trajectory we had, which was like releasing singles and like doing opening touring and stuff, and then eventually release a record when like we felt we had like, you know, hit critical mass as far as like what songs we had released. And there was like a moment where we were like, all right, we got to put a record together. And like in the back of my head, I'm like, we don't have enough songs. And then we start looking at our songs. We're like, all right, we have too many songs. And we're just like, we had so many songs. Like I like when you're an artist and you're inside your mind, essentially, you know, like when you're staying in there, you forget kind of like all the art you've created. And it was kind of a wonderful experience, like going back and listening to all these records that we had written since, you know, the beginning of the band. And like Max and I talk about this all the time. We'll go back and like, dude, I just listened to Two Sides the other day. Like this is pretty much what happened. I just listened to Two Sides the other day. Such a good song. I was like, is it? Hold on, let me go listen. Oh wow, that's way good. Okay, cool. Put it on the record. Like that's pretty much what happened. And we're just it was nice and kind of a reassuring moment in our careers, at least for me. And like I just felt like, yeah, this is what we're supposed to do. This is like, it feels right, it feels good. And kind of seeing all the art next to each other in one package really helped myself see us as a, you know, like as a band, as a, like a body of work all sitting together. And like, oh, that's their sound. And when you listen to it all together, it's like, oh, I get it. I can like see the image now. And like, whereas before it's like, you're putting out singles, you're testing the water, you're trying to figure out what works. And you're never quite playing the songs exactly back to back, and especially not in an order that is curated in a way that's supposed to like feel good the whole time you're listening to it. So that all being said, it's just really cool getting to put everything together and like make a record.
Do you have like
Yeah.
a favorite song off of it? Like for me, I loved Funeral, but for
Mhm.
you guys, I think your whole album has like this cool, like groovy, like tune. Like it has a sound to it that like I can tell if it like you guys listen to it when I changed it to like a different artist.
Mhm.
Do you guys have a favorite song off the album?
It changes,
Yeah.
but as of recently, I would probably say that at least mine have been kind of going back and forth between Bugging and Dandy Liars and Two Sides. Like those three, I think it kind of like sways back and forth between those. And they're all different. Like Dandy Liars is this just like slow build and it never gets the release, which is why it's a great like first record song because it's just like getting you primed for what's next. And then Buggin is just like full force anthem all the way. And then Two Sides is like a soft slap. You know, it's like a slop, a
Yeah.
soft,
Slop.
soft slop. But a really like emotional song. And I think like Two Sides is probably, at least from like a songwriter's perspective, like one of the best like concepts and just well put together. And all the lyrics for me are very like, they all have different meanings to myself personally. And so yeah.
I really like, after listening to the record over and over now, like I think my favorite is probably Lips and Mouth.
Mm.
And I think I figured out why. I was listening to it the other day. I was like on the run listening, and I realized that song reminds me of something. There's the nostalgia to it. Like there's a synth in it that reminds me of Mannheim's Steamroller. Very obscure reference, but they had like this Christmas album. It was like, but anyways, that was like bad. But it was like they have this like synth sound on this Christmas album, and I know if when you edit this, throw in some Mannheim
Okay.
Steamroller, and but there's something about it. It's but there was a synth in it, and I was like, oh my god, that is Mannheim Steamroller. Like that is like that synth sound that it reminds me of Christmas time. So there's like there's a nostalgia in it for me in that
Yeah.
one, and I think music in general is like I'm very like that's the shit that like drives me is like stuff that brings me into a place like or a point in time like
For
it's
sure.
like time traveling in a way. I don't know. That was cool.
I don't know who Mannheim Steamroller is, but
I will add that reference in.
yeah.
I'll just cut it in.
Don't play it through your phone. Don't play it through your phone.
No. I'm trying to make sure it's the right. Right. Yeah. This has got to be it. Yeah, this is totally the record. Like, do y'all remember this album?
No, I don't know
think so.
Mannheim
Dude, Deck
Steamroller.
the Halls. That was the shit.
Okay,
Is it
I'll
like
find it. I'll
is it
clip
like
it
an
in.
is it like an indie sound? Or like I'll listen to it after. Oh no, it's not an indie sound.
Bruh, it's like so synthy and just it's bad, but in the best way. And it's so of a time. But no. Okay.
Do you have
We're
like
back.
do you use music from like other artists so that like maybe artists you even grew up listening to that like you can reflect it in your music? Like do you see that?
100%, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Like depending on the song, there's I think there's a point of reference in every song, whether it's we knew that we were doing it or not.
Yeah.
There's something in there.
There's a lot of like I think unintentional, like more subconscious references that you end up. Because like for me too, like I like to think that because me and Connor write most of the songs together, it kind of has like this quirky lyrical feel to it a lot of times, and like it's very introspective, but like we really like to try to say things that have been said before but in our own way. And so I like to think like I don't necessarily hear our like lyricism and like think of other people, but from like a sonic standpoint, from like the production standpoint, I definitely hear a lot of references. I mean, we love a lot of 90s bands like Third Eye Blind and Nirvana and a lot of like the chord progressions that we choose, I think. But yeah, I think one thing that I'm proud of us about is that I think that there's a lot of diversity in our songs, at least from the standpoint of like I think we like to try things and a lot of the songs are different than others. So each one has like a different, like Buggin', for example. I think like the pre for Buggin' is like straight Third Eye Blind. It's like especially from like a newer version of it. But then like Lips and Mouth, for example, like the chord progression Lips and Mouth is like very unknown mortal orchestra. Like it's very interesting and not like a regular chord progression you would necessarily find in like an alt band. So I don't know. Yeah.
Do you guys have like a specific memory from like whether that was like the production of the album or release or something that like you vividly remember from making the album?
I personally remember a lot of the moments of writing the songs. So much of making a record, not to make it sound boring because it isn't, it's very rewarding, but like when you kind of work the way that we do, which is like you write a song, you make a demo yourself, and then you kind of like give those stems to the producer and go like, all right, let's clean this up, right? So much of the time in the actual studio finishing is me and Connor sitting in the back of the studio on our phones while Nikki, our producer, like is doing a bunch of minutia work. And so there are hours of the studio where we're just like chilling until he's like ready to like actually make some key decisions. And then we're like, okay, let's jump into it. But writing the songs, like I remember the day that we wrote Two Sides. I remember the day that we wrote Buggin', very vividly, and it's usually because like on the good days, personally, I'll have like a moment when we're writing a song over when I kind of think to myself like, oh, this is a good song, like and it kind of sticks in my mind. Either like coming up with something or just something clicks and you're like, okay, we got the concept or whatever. So I have an easier time remembering those moments.
Yeah, I have like memories that are scattered all around. It's usually I mean, as far as production goes, like being in the studio, I mean, I remember like being in Canada and finishing like Yoko Ono or not, sorry, we did, what
That
did
was
we
Canada.
do?
That was Canada.
No, but we finished it here. Well, I guess we started it there, then we
We
finished
started
it here
Yeah, we finished it in LA. Yeah.
in LA at our management's like old house that they had. And yeah, just like just random moments. And even for songs that we never put out, but I remember the sessions, like some of that shit's more memorable. Like there was one time we had a session, we brought the tracks in. The guys was like, "Your drums sound cheap." We're just like, "Fuck you, we're out."
Yeah.
This isn't gonna work.
Yeah, that just stung. That's why that stuck with you.
We're like, all right, bro.
It was a very, very awkward session. Very awkward session.
Yeah, there's like some people that just, they think very highly of themselves.
We've had way fewer terrible sessions than we've had really good
Oh
sessions.
yeah, but it's memorable is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's like the ones that stick in your mind the most.
We had a session one time where the guy gave us like he was like trying to get us to write a concept about the Grinch, and he was like, "What if we like made it like the Grinch, but like you're the Grinch, but like it's grunge?" And I was just like, "Oh, this is not the guy." Like, oh.
But it could but we were like open minded. We're like, yeah, let's see what happens. But definitely the initial reaction was like, oh, the Grinch. Okay. I mean, not to say that like we like out of all, not all the bands, but like out of the few bands that I know in our circle, like we would be the one that would say some shit like that though.
We like to go for it, but like I think that it's like going on a blind date, sometimes, because you get set up in sessions, you've never met the person before, and you walk in and you just don't know if you guys are gonna vibe. Oh, here's my dog trying to get out from under the blanket. You got it, buddy. It's all good. This is stupid. But yeah, I think like when it comes to the actual record, I think the fondest memories were like just the memories of like me and Connor writing the songs, because I think that's where it all starts to begin with. And for me, that's like the whole reason that this project has worked for us personally, and hopefully for other people, is that like, we have just always really enjoyed, even though we bicker constantly while we're writing songs, it's a constant like old couple like mentality where it's like, I hate that, no, I hate that, all right. It's like, and we're very open with each other, which is why I think it works. So yeah, but lots of memories. It's just, you kind of have to like think about it for a moment, or someone has to like remind you of the memory, and then it like comes rushing back and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that day.
I also have a bad memory. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
No, he just means that he can't.
I couldn't tell you about it. I don't know.
No, he just means he can't remember anything.
Oh, I thought you meant you literally had a bad memory.
Oh, no.
Like, okay, I'm the same way. I can't remember a lot of stuff. I'm like, it goes in my head and then out, like in one ear and out the other. It's like that.
I'll tell you what I'm the worst at is like
random information.
Is like when someone's like, what have you been listening to recently? And like my mind goes absolutely blank about the people I've been listening to. And I'm like, I don't know what I've been listening to.
Do podcasts count?
Yeah.
Like I have a wide variety of music, and then I just don't remember anyone.
And then I go into my Spotify and it's like the same 3 artists that I always listen to. And I'm like, all right.
Okay. Isn't that like, that is one thing that I do like miss about like kind of, earlier in music, was that like, there wasn't an infinite amount of people to listen to, right? It's like you go to the record store, you have what's there, or whatever's locally sourced, like whatever local bands you have in the region. And part of that, like you had to buy a record, and if you bought the record, you listened to that whole thing, but you probably only bought it because you heard one song. And now that band is now like a part of your life, you know what I'm saying? Like whether or not it's like a record you're going to listen to forever, it's now has like an impact on you, like what's the word, like for that time in your life, like there's a memory of it now.
It's almost like if you were to like relate to something, it's like having a very short moment of like interaction with someone, or like going over to someone's house and like seeing where they live and like seeing their friends. It's like you either like, I think, and nowadays like unless you take the time and dive into someone's like full catalog, you're just like picking and choosing songs out of everybody's portfolios to listen
Yeah.
to. And to your point, Connor, it's like when people used to buy records, whether you ended up loving the record or not, you still sat with their full body of work. You still sat through like their decisions of like how to order the songs and their productions and their choices that they made as a band or an artist. So I think that whether you ended up liking it, you at least got like the full view of what that artist was about.
Yeah, and I definitely like, not to sound like an old piece of shit, but like I missed that. Like I feel like there's a lot of positive to it too, because like you're gonna hear so many more artists and find new songs you never would have heard of. But I do just feel like there's like a missing element to the connection of these like smaller bands and stuff. And like unless you're massive, like, which who knows how that happens.
Yeah.
But like, unless you're like just insanely famous, like people aren't.
And even when you're huge, I feel like the majority of people are still only gonna listen to singles. They're still only
true.
It's like they're still only just going in, and our attention span is so quick. So if we don't like something, we're just gonna skip it. Whereas like if you put on a record on like a record player or whatever, or CD,
that's why I love vinyl.
Like,
it forces it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. It's like, I think like anything, it is what it is. We can talk all day about like the positive and the negatives, but it's like we just are where we are, and that's kind of the reality of it. But like I am appreciative of the people that choose to listen to our full record. You know, like when someone says like I listened front to back, you're like, thank you. Like that,
damn,
you know?
Like you went out of your way. Like respect.
Yeah,
like I think of like
there's a different level of like connection with music.
Yeah.
Listen to that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like the Third Eye Blind record that I had in my Prius that was stuck in there. Like we just listened to that all the time because it was the only record in there. But I also loved it. Like every song had like a memory. Like,
also,
so when I listened to it,
just a fantastic record. Like,
and by the way, if you don't know who Third Eye Blind is, if you're listening or watching, they're pretty much the 1975, but from the 90s. Like listen to the lyrics and like the way he sings. It's like they're the same band. It's crazy. Like just different production. Like if like I want to see like Matty Healy like cover a Third Eye Blind song or vice versa. Like I think that would be so sick.
I'd rather see
like, they're totally different. Yeah.
I'd rather see Matty Healy cover Third Eye Blind than Third Eye Blind cover Matty Healy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're both great.
No, they're both great. Yeah, for sure.
So you guys are performing at Lollapalooza this year, which I saw earlier today.
Supposedly.
Did you guys have like a song from the album that you're like most excited to perform, or like any song in general that you guys put out?
Buggin'.
It's gonna be fun.
Funeral too. Dandelions. Like I have specific, like I'm excited for specific things. Like I'm super excited for like the sound at the beginning of Dandelions to like open up our set and like just be running on the loop until like we come out. And I'm excited to structure the set list differently now that we have a lot more songs to choose from. But Buggin' is just gonna be that anthemic, like when that second chorus hits and then the post chorus comes, like it's like I'm just gonna step away from the mic. I'm not even gonna sing. I'm just gonna listen. I'm just like,
that's where you take the mic and you go, you guys sing. That's one of my favorite things about playing live is like you forget the words, do this. It looks cool. It looks cool, and they help you remember the lyrics.
Do you guys have like a ritual or like a routine you do before you perform?
We do like vocal warm-ups. Like Maxwell has a recording that he listens to, and I just kind of piggyback off of him because I always forget about it. I'm like, oh yeah, vocal warm-ups, and like we'll do like pretty much that. And like I try to jack myself up on like caffeine or whatever. I just try to like get to like you can ask Maxwell, like every show, like your mental state is different every single time. Like it all depends, like what did you eat that day? Did you have too much caffeine? Do you not have enough caffeine? Like did you interact with anybody? Were you sleeping on the bus?
The van.
Yeah. I was like, we don't have a bus.
Yeah.
But in the van, like what was the situation of that day leading up to that? Like how did you get any sleep last night? So on and so forth. And Yeah, so it's just like every day is different, and we try to get to the same place because there's nothing better than like feeling excited, getting on stage, performing well, feeling pumped about the performance, and just like that is what we live for. Is like that feeling of like, this is why we do it. This is like the whole reason and the purpose of music is bringing people together, and here it is, a celebration of sound, and it's fucking awesome. It's so much fun.
I find myself trying to like center myself a lot, like before shows, because I feel like the nerves coming on, and I feel like the nausea coming on, and like
Yeah, and we're both very different. Yeah, he gets a little like
I just get a little like I don't know if I want to go out. I mean, of course, I never am like I can't go out there, but like I just get nervous, and so I find myself like sitting quietly and like just trying to like keep
Like get in the
myself
headspace.
just keep myself cool and collected till I get out there, and then I feel the energy, and then I can like kind of like get more into it.
yeah.
Because I feel sometimes if I get like too pumped up before the show, I'm gonna like fuck up. I'm like not gonna like remember the things I need to do. So I just like
Yeah. And I'm the
yeah.
opposite. Like I want to get myself so pumped up that I forget that like I like, because I'm the first person to tell you like I have a hard time like just memorizing things, or I think I do at least. And I think the big reason is because I'm thinking about it. So the second that I'm like, if I'm able to like pump myself up so much that I'm like, I'm about to have a great time, this is gonna be awesome, no matter what, and I get on stage and I forget about that. And it's like one of the greatest things like being in a duo. It's like if I forget something for a split second, he fills in the blank, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And then we're back on. So like we're never off for more than like half a second, you know. And
But we also
knock on wood, but
we also always have like a moment before like right before we go on stage where we, you know, us and our drummer, we like give a little pep talk and do a little like we used to say MobRich on 3, but it will now be MobRich on 3. MobRich on 3, and then
well,
usually our drummer usually goes out before us, and then Connor and I have a little moment to ourselves where we spank each other on the bottom a few times and say, "Hey, good luck out there," you know. Yeah.
Do you guys
Something
have
like that.
like do you guys have like an artist you want to perform with?
A
Like
million of
anyone,
them.
like dead or alive. Could be anyone.
does it have
Say-
to make sense?
No, go for it.
Yeah,
It could be
no.
anything. Yeah.
Oh, I mean Led Zeppelin, or I mean, or the Beatles. I mean, just to be, or Rolling Stones, like any of those, like the massive ones, you know, like any just legendary band.
I think Cage the Elephant would be one of mine because they're so good live, and I forget his name. They get the lead singer. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now, but he's such a presence on stage, and I think like to share the stage with him would be amazing. And apart from him, maybe someone like way outside, maybe like Tyler the Creator, like something like way left field that like I wouldn't imagine ourselves performing with, but it would be dope.
Or
'Cause they're just-
Beyonce. I just feel like the
Ooh.
crowd would be insane. I feel like people would be going crazy.
yeah, or like Bruno Mars
Ooh, yeah.
or The Weeknd, like any of those, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Lizzo. Lizzo's just fun.
This would be fun.
Yeah, or Post Malone. I think Post Malone would be a good one too. I feel like his crowd is the type of crowds. You know whose crowds are insane actually, and I actually really wish our crowds were as hype as them. But he just has way hyper music. Is Travis Scott? Like his crowds are insane. So I would
they
love
like
to
mosh
experience
and
it.
stuff, don't they?
Oh, they go
They go all out.
insane, like crazy. Like he's had some situations where it was like too out of control, and they like the cops showed up and all sorts of stuff. And yeah. Anyways, yeah, he's dope.
Okay, and lastly, do you guys have like a specific creative process when it comes to making your music, or do you guys kind of go on the flow?
I think it's
We used
changed.
to, yeah.
Yeah, it's changed by a couple things, by the pandemic happening and just not being around each other as much, and kind of like being forced to do a little bit more like on our own writing and production, and then kind of sending ideas back and forth. And then I think it's also changed too because like I think when you write with any one person a lot, you know, you wells dry up, right? And you need to experience things on your own, and then come back together, and you need to like flush ideas out. And there are things that like Connor would write that we would never write together, and the things that I would write that we would never write together. So I think that you kind of have to just evolve and go through all those things. But the majority of the songs that we have released and are planning on releasing usually starts with me and Connor, or maybe one other person just writing a song and then, you know, starting the production and tinkering with ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, but every method is definitely like a different, you know, paint color and or paintbrush or just a different part of creating the art, right? And like you never know walking into the room what the date's gonna have because we are two people, like the energy and the emotions felt by both of us are completely separate. So we have to come in and figure out like, okay, where do these two emotions meet in the middle? Where is the story that you and I are both feeling? Like, so we have to like pretty much always starts with the conversation. Something like talking is a must. Like you can kind of just go in and immediately start, but like you need some sort of catalyst to express from, right? You need like some sort of topic.
And it's different too, because like there are times where one of us will be feeling, for whatever reason, like super down, right? And like you either have to make the decision like, all right, I'm going to either try to like get you out of this so we can write a different type of song, or I'm just gonna like meet you where you are
and just try to get what it is.
and try to get like whatever is going on in your life, like let's try to like talk about that and extract that. And then there are times where some of our best songs have been written where like one of us will already have like half a chorus or a melody or something that we've been, you know, messing around with, and we're like, what do you think of this? And if the other person's down with it. And I think at the beginning, which is a funny progression and just kind of like evolving as people too, at first when we first started this project, because we had been solo artists for so long, I think both of us were very keen on like doing everything together. And like if it wasn't a song that we both didn't write together and come up together and like both like relate to every part of the song, then we'd be like, I don't want to use it. And I think now we're at a place, just because we've evolved as people and there's less ego about it all, it's like it's easier for someone to be like, hey, like I did this thing, and the other person kind of just like finds their own way to like relate to the song and extract meaning. And of course it's like it's a threshold and it's relative. There are songs where we send to each other and we're like, yeah, I don't think I'm feeling it. But it's like I think it's cool that we're now at a place where we're able to do that and not feel like, because I can only speak, you know, from my own experience, but I remember like being, you know, younger when we first started this band and being like, I don't want to sing a song that I didn't write, or I don't want to sing a song that I didn't like contribute 50% to. And
yeah, now it's more just like, I don't want to sing a song unless it slaps. Like,
yeah,
like that song's
yeah.
good. Like that, like
That's the barometer. Like, yeah.
we, if anything, we are expanding our paint selections because like Maxwell said, like in the beginning, like we had very specific songs that only he and I could write together, and now we are expanding outside of that. And it was important to do that too, because like in the beginning of our bands, like we're trying to figure out what is the sound. And I think no matter what we do, like it will never sound more MobRich than when he and I come together and write a song alone. Like that will be the most like Just Mine and like Yoko Ono, like all those songs, like they started us. And like I think that is like you're gonna have the most potent version of us, but like now we're getting on the fringes of like what is us, and then we're like it's filling in all the gaps. And like hopefully one day there can be a MobRich sphere of colors, and you can go around and be like, what am I feeling today? You got happy, sad, introspective, just out of mind, you know, like you can go around and find that song that kind of falls somewhere on the MobRich spectrum.
But you think about like all of these artists, like a great example is like the Beatles, because there were so many different amalgamations of Beatles songs, right? And so many different like people putting in different parts. And of course there's like the stories that like, you know, Paul and John like didn't let what's his name like ever really like Ringo contribute or anything like that. But like you just listen to bands and you realize that like as you go through life and as you're not just like a first year band or a second year band, like you've been doing this for 6 years, you know, it's like you kind of just to continue to feel inspired and to continue to feel like you're moving in a direction, whether it's left or right or up or down or whatever, it's like you kind of just have to take chances and just remove your own ego from the situation and be like, you know what, like let's do that, like let's bring this other person in and just see what they can contribute. And the worst thing that can happen is you don't like the song and you don't use it, you know. It's like, so but yeah, I think some of the most exciting things to me is like when Connor and I work with other artists, because, you know, other artists are so easy to work with a lot of the times, because it's almost like easier than writing with like songwriters or producers, because like they have their own identity and it's almost just about like merging those two identities together and figuring out like how that works and what that looks like, versus working with a songwriter who is only trying to
they're trying to figure out who you are, and they're like, all right, how can I be,
or they've heard your
need?
music, or they've heard your music and they're just like, all right, let's like try to get something like that, you know, or like, oh, I've heard their music, I know what they sound like, so I'm gonna, you know, suggest things like this or this. And for an artist, like there's nothing more, not annoying, but like it can be frustrating to like go in with someone and be like, yeah, like we did that already, you know. It's like we've done that.
It's uninspiring.
Yeah,
it's just like, it feels like it doesn't lead you anywhere. It's like, yeah, we've been there, let's go elsewhere,
let's go down the road. Yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but yes.
No, it's a great answer, and thank you so much for taking the time out and talking too, because you guys, I know you've recently, like what, 2-3 days ago released the album. One. And I mean, I know you guys are probably busy, so thank you so much for doing that.
We got nothing going on.
Thank you.
And if you guys are ever in Dallas, I will come and see you.
For sure. We'll be back.
Forward to it.
Yeah, we got some stuff in Texas coming up in the year, but not in Dallas, unfortunately. But there's still time.
But we might end up routing a tour around it. It's a pretty big, you know, pretty big festival. You probably heard of it. Can't tell you, but you might have.
Okay.
Not in Dallas.
I'm sure you can guess.
I know.
Yeah.
I might be in that area, but
there you go.